Oh, hello. People are still here. Fantastic. Can you hear me? Okay, so yeah, this is an apparently non-psychedelic psychedelic event, and how not to organize a conference after event. Okay, so I organized for my confession is I organized a conference in Brazil. I've organized a few conferences, psychedelic ones, non-psychedelic ones. This was a non-psychedelic conference on parapsychology, actually, in Brazil, and but every evening we had a journey into altered states, which was kind of nice. Your standard things, you know, we're going to do an ayahuasca ceremony with the local indigenous group, a Santa Daime ceremony the next night, an Umbanda transpossession ceremony the night after that. And this was after a whole day's worth of talks. You know, we had like all the scientific papers, and then we'd, you know, go and do something completely different. And people were pretty tired by the end of it. So the last night was a tobacco ceremony, which seemed like a good idea. And with the local indigenous again, a different group. And I had a bunch of my students there with me, ex-students I say, because they'd just finished their degrees, and they begged me to come to Brazil. They're like, come on, can we come with you? This sounds really exciting. I was like, well, okay, you've graduated now. I'm not going to look after you, but, you know, sure, you can come. I felt like I didn't want to have to be looking after them, you know. So we went to this, so they jumped in at the deep end. They'd never had any psychedelic experiences. They went to 2 ayahuasca ceremonies back to back, transpossession ritual the next night. It seemed to be going okay. And on the final night, we went for this tobacco ceremony with the Indians. And it all seemed pretty good. 25 academics and students on a minibus out into the jungle. We had a tobacco ceremony, it was very nice. And then something strange happened. I'm not exactly sure what, but the next day, we're all trying to kind of meeting up, and it's like, what happened last night? I was like, I don't know. It's like, I lost 5 hours. Oh, yeah, me too. I'm not sure. It's like, you know, we left there like about 9 o'clock, and we got home at like 4 in the morning or something on this minibus. And so what actually happened? So we all started kind of piecing it together like a jigsaw puzzle. And it was quite strange. And I mean, my own experience, we were on the minibus going home, and I pull out my mobile. I'm trying to look for my mobile phone for about half an hour. I finally pull it out, and I've got it. And I look at it, and then I turn it around, and it disappears in my hands. I'm like, oh, what's going on? And then I'm chatting to one of my students, and she seems to be speaking in Russian. And I'm like, what are you actually saying? It's like, oh, are you going to this ceremony? She said, no, we've just left. So I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, I'm really thirsty, I said. And she passed me this little carton with a juice, you know, and she passed it to me. And I said, oh, great, thank you. And I looked at it, and it was like the most mind-blowing kind of technological gadget you've ever seen. It had like all these buttons and things, and it's like, what happens if you press this button? She goes, no, you just take the straw out and you put it in the top, and I was like, oh yeah, of course, yeah. It's like, what's going on? You know, this is all getting very strange. Yeah, so I wasn't quite sure what was happening. The apparitions kept appearing in front of the minibus coming home. Like suddenly there'd be a couple of people in the road ahead, would walk out in front of the minibus and then just disappear. I was like, this is very strange. I've got to tell my colleagues about this. I've just seen some apparitions. So in the morning, I'm trying to work out what had gone on, and like one of my students said, yeah, what happened last night? Did you see the little man dancing around the fire in the Indian's hut? I was like, no, what little man? He said, oh yeah, the other student went, oh, I saw him too. It's like, really? He's like, yeah, there was this like a little man with big eyes, and he was kind of running around the fire. You didn't see him? I was like, oh. And so what did he look like? And so they said, oh, I drew a picture. And she drew a picture, and she showed me, and I was like, oh my word, I didn't see him, but I saw a woman just like him on the minibus. And sure enough, coming back, 2 seats in front of me, there's this little old woman with big almond eyes and wizened face, ooh, like this. Looked about 300 years old, with a smile from here to here. Looked just like the little man they'd seen dancing around the fire. And she kept smiling and winking at me like, ooh, like this, like in a conspiratorial way. I was like, who is that? I don't remember her coming on the minibus. Is she at the conference? You know, it's like, she looks a bit strange. But all sense of rationality had disappeared. And it suddenly dawned on me, I started collecting more of these students from people who had been there, and something very strange had gone on. One of the students had gone back to the hotel and gone up to their bedroom, and sure enough, the bedroom's full of dead bodies, like you do. And so they went down to the concierge and said, "Hey, look, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cause a fuss, but there's all these dead bodies in my room, can you just get rid of them? I'm just really tired." And they go, "Okay, let's go and have a look, shall we?" Go up there, bodies are gone. No bodies. Very strange. So in the morning, it finally dawned on me what had happened when I was trying to give my lecture, because I had to give a paper the next day at the conference, as I do tomorrow, actually, so let's see how that goes. And I couldn't read a thing. I mean, it was just like a blurry lines mess, and yet I could see everything at the back of the room very, very, very clearly. I could probably read it if it had been at the back of the room. And then something dawned on me. It's like, oh, I know, I've read about this. It's datura. And sure enough, so the Indians very naughtily had kind of slipped us 25 people at a conference had gone to see these Indians for a tobacco ceremony. They'd slipped us a load of datura. And then decided once we were all high as kites, it was time for us to leave. And, apparently, there was one person went there to pick up her mum, a local woman, a Brazilian. And she was the only person who witnessed what happened, who could remember. And she was kind of saw us all trying to leave these Indians' hut. He says, 25 people couldn't put their shoes on, basically. It was like, and the lost hours happened because she had to put us all on the minibus. So she'd kind of take one person from the Indians' hut through the woods to the minibus, put them in the minibus, go back for the next person. They're kind of still trying to put their shoes on, take them to the minibus. Meanwhile, the person in the minibus had got out, was wandering around the woods. So you had to kind of find them, lock that person in the minibus, find the other person who just got out, lock them in there, go back. It'd taken her hours just to get us all on the minibus, which happened to be full of werewolves and elves and all kinds of crazy stuff. You might consider this to be somewhat irresponsible of the Indians, but 25 people, there was no kind of casualties. Everybody had a very weird story to tell about what actually happened. And it was probably the single most weird and interesting night in my life. So, that's a good story. Thank you.